Hi, welcome to Westside's Virtual Teen Craft for May. This month we will be making screen printed tote bags. Now, our tote bags will say Tails and Tales. Tails and Tales is the 2021 summer reading theme. So, grab your kits and let's start crafting. In your kits, you will get several items. You will find freezer paper, your template, black paint, newspaper, and your tote bag. Now, in addition to the items found in your kit, you are going to need a large paintbrush and a craft knife. If you have very sharp, small scissors, they will work also, but a craft knife will be best for this project. Also, when you are working with a craft knife, you need to put a protective surface on your table. I am using something called a self-healing mat that's designed to be cut on. If someone in your family sews, especially if they do quilting, they probably have one of these. If you don't have something like this at your house, a piece of cardboard underneath your template will work just as well to protect your table. All right. So let's begin. So the first two items you are going to need are your Tails and Tales printout, your freezer paper, and a pencil. Okay, using your Tails and Tales printout, you are going to trace the logo onto the freezer paper, and then you're going to cut out the letters. All right, so freezer paper. Freezer paper has a shiny and matte side. So you want to write on the matte side. So you're going to lay down your Tails and Tales printout and then put the freezer paper shiny side down on top. You're going to be able to see the logo through the freezer paper. And now you're going to start tracing. The shiny side is actually wax paper. And after we get our letters traced out, we are going to be using an iron to iron the freezer paper onto our tote bag. This will hold it in place while we paint. Okay. All right, so we have it traced. Okay. All right, now we're gonna cut them out. I am using a craft knife. You can use really small, sharp scissors. That would work. A craft knife, this. It looks similar to a box cutter. It just has a smaller blade. Some of you may or may not have this at your house. If you do, that's great. If you don't, really small scissors will work. Okay. So you're just going to cut around out the letters. Now, because the blade is very sharp, it can damage the table. So I have a mat under here to protect my work surface. You need to put something under your freezer paper to protect your work surface. If you do, cardboard works. Okay. Okay, then we have our first letter. All right, and you're going to keep doing this until all of them are done. Now, something with the A. So when you cut out your A, you're going to cut out that little middle part. And you're going to need to set it aside because you're going to need it for the tote bag. Now I'm just holding down my freezer paper by hand. If you have some at home and you want to tape it down, painter's tape, like that blue tape you use if you've ever, when you paint like a room or something at home. That would work to hold it down. And the great thing about painter's tape is that when you remove it, it doesn't rip paper. I know it's not as sticky as like masking tape or Scotch tape. But it still holds stuff in place, which is awesome. Okay. All right. One of the reasons why I haven't taped down my freezer paper is because when I got to the S, it's curvy. I find it easier to keep cutting on the line and by moving my paper, which I couldn't do if it was taped down. Right, we got the first word done. Okay, so your ampersand, like the A, you want to save the two pieces in the middle. All right, so our stencil on our wax paper is done. Okay, so now we are going to take and iron this to our tote bag. All right, so our next step is to iron our freezer paper stencil onto our tote bag. Before you iron on the stencil, you're going to want to iron your tote bag to get the wrinkles out. Our tote bags are 100% cotton, so you're going to want to use the cotton setting on your iron. All right. All right. All right. And then you're going to take your freezer paper stencil and center it on the tote bag. And you are just going to we're going to iron on the stencil. So the shiny backing on freezer paper is wax. And when you apply heat to it, it melts a little and bonds onto the fabric. Now, what the really cool thing about the freezer paper is that it peels off. So it is perfect for projects like this because it's removable. Okay, so now if you'll notice, your A and your ampersand don't have the little triangles in them. So when we cut them out, I had you set them aside for this very reason. So we are going to put them on our tote bag and iron them down. All right. Okay. All right, so our stencil is ironed onto our tote bag, and we are now ready to paint our letters. All right, so in the kits, there's some newspaper. The newspaper does two things. One, it can protect your surface from paint that we'll be using, but also, and more importantly, you're going to need to put newspaper inside your tote bag. So this will prevent the paint from bleeding through the front and onto the back. Okay. So, all right. So I have my newspaper inserted, and okay. So I put in black paint. All the kids have black paint. If you want to do another color and that you have at home, feel free to use that or use what comes in the kit. You are free to personalize this. All right. All right, this is just black acrylic paint. And another good thing about the freezer paper is that because it is bonded onto the fabric, that means the paint isn't going to go under it when we paint it on. So just start painting. All right. Now, I would love to see examples of anything that you've done to personalize this, like changing the color, things like that. It would be great if you would share ones that you've done on our Facebook page so everybody could see what we're doing. All right. Okay. Now I'm just using regular acrylic paint. There is fabric paint available. Fabric paint. Now, when this dries, the paint is going to be fairly stiff, which doesn't matter so much with a tote bag. But if you're doing this on, say, a t-shirt, I would recommend using fabric paint. Fabric paint is specifically designed to be used on t-shirts, tote bags, any kind of textiles. And it's flexible and softer when it dries than regular acrylic. Which, you know, if it's a t-shirt and you're wearing it, you know, that can matter. Yeah, and if you see any spots where the white of the tote bag is bleeding through, just go back over it. Okay, so you need to wait for your tote bag to dry, and then you are going to remove the wax paper. And as you can see, the wax paper just peels off. All right. And once your tote bag is dry, you will have your tails and tails book bag all ready to come to the library. Thank you for joining me today and making our Tails and Tales tote bag. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's been a great way to kick off our 2021 summer reading program. Now, remember, if you would like to participate in summer reading, you can sign up at any Rapides Parish Library branch, and also Westside in particular will be doing in-person outdoor programming this summer. So if you're interested, please call us at 318-442-2483 for more information or to reserve your spot. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.